Roving gangs of illegal immigrants are threatening a nation of idiots. I'm Dr. Chatter. Grab your fucking guns. We're gonna talk some shit. Grab your gun. Grab your gun. Grab your gun. Yeah. No, not at me. That way. Yes, you got it. All right. Yeah, well, I have to talk about this because it's in the news and I want to get this out of the way real quick. Don't worry. This is actually a BB gun. It's not a real rifle. So no need to think that I've gone all NRA or Parkland or anything on you. Fox News, and of course by extension Trump and many conservatives and supporters of him, are now going absolutely nuts because of a group called People Without Borders. They're actually a group of people that are taking, I think it's over 1,000 people, in a caravan through Central America and Mexico to the United States, where they plan to cross the border, seeking sanctuary away from all the bad shit happening in Honduras. Well, this has got all these conservatives and Trump freaking out because he's convinced everybody, Trump has, that they're the reason for crime, that they commit all these murders, that they're the reason for the drug epidemic that's going on. Of course, we know the drug epidemic is actually because of pharmaceutical industries and hospitals and negligent doctors prescribing things like fentanyl and getting people addicted, and these things are very dangerous. So instead of attacking the people he should go after because they pay his bills and everything, he goes to the Mexicans and says, well, they're illegal immigrants, so they got to be the source of all of this. And he's even gone so far as to say that they're raping their way through Mexico. Of course, this is all denied by not only the people there who set up this caravan to protect people from crimes such as rape, but also to ensure them safe passage so that, nothing bad happens, no crimes are committed. Now, of course, Trump says that we have bad laws that govern our borders and immigration, and Mexico has great ones, so they should stop them before they get in the country. But that's the thing, is you don't stop everyone coming into the country just because they're coming into the country. Yes, if they wore a sign or carry rocket launchers saying, I'm a member of Al-Qaeda and screaming, death to the infidels, Allahu Akbar, yeah, maybe you might want to stop that guy. But these are just normal people seeking refuge. Kind of not the type of person you should be persecuting. It's like someone going on vacation to another country. You don't tell them you can't come in because you're from this certain state. I mean, they can cross the line. And yeah, sometimes people that vacation in other countries decide to stay. So what's it make them when they decide to stay? Are they still someone on vacation? Or have they now become an illegal immigrant? See, these are parts of laws that we actually already have this in place. So you need to figure this out so that we can actually progress further and create a better society. So Fox News and by extension Trump are convinced that a roving caravan of immigrants is rampaging through Mexico at this very moment. Despite TYT claiming the caravan is a hoax, there is ample documentation by multiple news outlets that this is occurring. There's also government officials that confirm this is happening. But it is not a rampaging group, it's just a group of refugees that are calmly, passively moving through their country in a big caravan. The group consists mainly of refugees from Honduras, part of a group known as People Without Borders. They are seeking safe passage to the U.S. and asylum in the U.S., fleeing hardship, crime, corruption, and persecution in their native country. Their group is dedicated to the safe passage of all in the caravan to deter from being criminals in the country or allowing criminal behaviors on the voyage. But Fox and Trump are convinced that they are filled with MS-13, drug cartel members, and rapists, none of which is being actively verified, but rather reported to be false by the other news outlets and people on the scene, including the group who they put the group together so this wouldn't happen. But Trump has called the National Guard to charge the border and guard it, partly because other conservatives have urged this, and they were talking about this on Fox News. Now, there isn't much of a wall along the border now, but let's ask this. Do you remember Hadrian's Wall? What about the walls of Troy? What about the Great Wall of China? What about the walls of Jericho? What about Wall Street? Walls fall down. Go boom. Not only that, but tunnels go under, ships go around, and aircraft go over. People can scale walls with ladders, climb them with hands or by rope, and explode holes in them. Walls don't work. Ever. It's a temporary thing. It's just an obstacle to slow people down. If someone really wants to get past a wall, they will get past a wall. Every time. And we've even seen before that some conservatives, such as radio hosts on the AM station, have actually said that we should round up the illegal immigrants and force them into labor to help build the wall. Which would be slavery. I mean, do conservatives still read their Bible? I mean, I hear they do. I'm pretty sure I've heard them say they do. But do they know that you shouldn't enslave people to build a wall? Do they remember what was it, Exodus? I mean, what did it say about the Egyptians enslaving the Israelites into service and hard labor? I'm not sure you guys are reading your Bible. At least you're not thinking about it too deeply when you read these parables and stories. Now, I would add that technically the people that built the pyramids and the other large architecture, those weren't actual slaves. Those were work teams, and we've got their pay stubs. They were paid in bread and beer, and we even know a number of their names, not just the names of the groups, but the names of some of the people that were in those groups. So, yeah, you don't have slaves build things like tombs and religious iconography. That's considered almost sacrilegious. Anathema. You don't do that. They're not good to do that. They'll fuck it up intentionally. You don't have them do it. You pay people to do it. And of course, Texas is saying that birth certificates won't be given to people who get papers from the Mexican consulate. They say they can't trust the documents, but birth certificates are not necessary to enroll a child born here into schools as long as they have a note from the parents saying that they are illegal immigrants and could not get the birth certificate. That's entrapment. That's illegal. You can't entrap people. You can't force them to confess their crime through blackmail and coercion. That's not cool. It's like the people that were going around with a car, and it'd be a bait car. They'd have someone drive up, get out, and they'd be yelled at by somebody else. They get in that car and leave, and they just leave the other car sitting there with the keys in the ignition, running, lights on, door open. And they'd have other people sitting there watching it, waiting for someone to come along and steal it, which inevitably they would, and then they let the people drive around for a little while, and then when they're in the right area, turn off the power to the car and it completely locks down, trapping the people inside, or person, so that they can then arrest the person who stole the car. This is entrapment. You are literally baiting somebody, tempting them with a prospect. Fun, free money, whatever it is. And then when they fall for the trap, you're busting them for committing a crime that they probably wouldn't have committed had you not been there with a trap. It's entrapment. You're not giving him credit for having legal documents at a consulate that you'll trust, so you won't give them a birth certificate and then use that when they get questioned for the birth certificate at school. Say, oh, well, just give them a note from the parents saying that the parents don't actually live here, they're not actual citizens. Which, okay, now you've got parents that are living here and they're not citizens, now we know you're illegal. That's entrapment. Okay. We'll give your kid school, but you gotta tell us you're committing a crime so we can bust you. And then we'll deport you and your kid back. There's no documentation to say he was born here, or she. Do people in Texas know why we made entrapment illegal? I would think someone there does. Now, I know what you're saying. This might not be the best example, but it brings up an interesting point. There was a guy, and he moved his family out to a place called Ruby Ridge. He was a Christian, his wife was Christian, they were raising a boy and a girl. They wanted a good environment for their kids. And they decided to live off the land and be closer to God and be natural and be good people. But their neighbors nearby happened to be a group of people from the Aryan Nation. And they invited them out to their place a number of times, and finally these people went out and looked at it. And they started going to events with these people that these people would hold. And they even went to church with these people. Yes, with Nazi regalia everywhere. And these people had been infiltrated by the government. There was an undercover there. He approached the father. Now, a lot of people say that the father wasn't racist, but the father liked what they had to say, kept going back, claimed they were his friends, and wore anti-Zog t-shirts. If you know what Zog is, it's white supremacist speak for Zionist occupied government. So he was anti-Fed. But this government agent approached him and said, hey, I hear you're kind of a weapons guy. But the guy's like, yeah, I guess you could say that in a way. And he's like, well, talks to the guy for a little while. He's like, I gotta get a bunch of guns. Can you make me a bunch of guns? They need to be sawed-off shotguns. And, you know, double barrel, pump action, whatever. Just sawed off, and I'll buy them from you. I mean, I hear you need money. This will be a good way for you to make money. Guy's like, all right. Now right here, this is entrapment. Because the guy's being asked by someone he thinks is in the Aryan Nation to make sawed-off shotguns, which are illegal firearms, or at least they were in that area at that time. I'm not sure what the laws are now. But he was to make these and sell them. Multiples. Not one every so often for personal use, which is pretty much applicable by most laws in states on how many guns you're allowed to build and create. But a lot of them. And sell them for money. Basically doing black market things. Now, what happened, of course? Well, when the government went to Ruby Ridge, they eventually got into a prolonged armed standoff with the man and his family before his son, and then later his wife, were killed. White supremacists everywhere used it as a rallying cry against the government of the US, touting Second Amendment values, touting free speech, touting Christian values, And they even did Confederate propaganda. Seriously, if you listen to some of the people talking to the cops in interviews, they did actually reiterate talking points that other people like Confederates and other white supremacists and KKK members have actually said before. White supremacy is bad, and slavery is bad, and Christianity is dubious at best. It's a bad thing. We should not do this. We're already trying to delegitimize Mexico's government. This is not the way we're supposed to be doing things. They're an ally. They're a trade partner. But what were we talking about? We were talking about that caravan. The sad part is that many of these people in the caravan that may be coming across our border might be in danger of many things. With Trump calling the National Guard out, they could potentially even get shot just for trying to move to a country that they were hoping wouldn't kill them, which is why they were fleeing Honduras, because they were scared for their lives. Of course, the Coast Guard or National Guard or whoever's there, Marines, Army, Air Force, probably not the Navy, but whoever's there, they're probably going to enact something similar to arrest and detain, possibly put on trial, or immediately deport back. And Trump has slammed Democrats during this time for being relaxed on border laws, saying that Democrats have catch and release policies. Well, what do you think ICE does? They catch illegal immigrants, they detain them, put them on trial, and then they deport them. It's pretty much catch and release. The only thing else you could do is indefinitely detain them, or force them into labor, or execute them, and all three of those are actually abhorrent. You shouldn't be able to detain someone indefinitely without trial, or make it last longer than it should, or anything like that. It should be a quick and speedy trial. You shouldn't be able to force them to do labor, because that's slavery. And you shouldn't kill them, because, hell, most of the time that's why they're coming over here, so they won't get killed. So they can actually live. That's the whole point of trying to live here. This could also make them an already big burden on our prison system and taxes, which we all know Trump and his friends and all the people in the upper class, they don't want to pay more taxes. They want the poor people to pay the taxes. They want the middle class. They want people like me, people like you to pay the taxes, to help pay these prisons, where they will give them minimal housing, minimal clothing, and minimal food, which is very close to slavery. And if you force them into labor, it's even more like slavery. But you're using the justice system to justify your slavery, sometimes using the people's own labor to make the prison a profit, not just save it money. That is slavery. And unfortunately, our laws do allow for this coerced labor. It was, I believe, written into, was it the 13th Amendment? Because the people are in prison. If you detain them indefinitely, you got a slave forever. If you don't give them a speedy trial, you got a long-term slave. And America doesn't like slaves. So, as a bunch of Christians, conservatives, and Trump want to turn away scared people yearning for freedom, liberty, and justice. And he's not going to give them food? No, he wants to take food away from other people. Sure, he wants to give them a little box food, but he doesn't want to pay them money because he doesn't think he can trust them to spend it on food. Even though there was a big study that said, look, they're not spending it on drugs, they're spending it on food. We did the research. And he's just not listening to it. You know, I was told when I used to be a Christian that Jesus taught that you should heal people, feed them, clothe them, shelter them, treat them with kindness, treat them with fairness, treat them like a human being. And I don't see conservatives following that message. Maybe there's something we can all learn from this experience. Because knowledge changes the world.